What's good? What's good? I know y'all see the title. Um, he was always there. Y'all see the title. I ain't gotta read it, but so we're gonna talk about Howard Shad, right? Who the world calls ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? And at the same time, you can consider this like shots fired towards the so-called Old Testament only people that only believe in the Old Testament and don't really understand the New Testament. So these are a few scriptures, you know, it's many more, but a few scriptures that we can use to prove, that Jesus, or in the Hebrew, Yahushua, been all through the Bible, right? And so yeah, we just, through the Spirit, gonna try to go through these few scriptures and and to prove our point, you know, and then like I said, because some people don't understand like how they think Jesus just showed up in the New Testament, but he always been around. So, and we're gonna through the Spirit, we're gonna see that to be true, and at the same time, cutting the doctrine of the Old Testament only at the same time. So, with that being said, we're gonna give all praises to the Most High, and we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. So, we're gonna start off with Genesis 1:1. Hold on 1 second, though, Salaki. So yeah, Salaki. So we're gonna start off with Genesis 1:1, right? And and it reads, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth." Right. So we gotta understand, like in the Hebrew, the word God means Elohim or Elohims, right? It's plural when you read it in the Hebrew, so it'd be the gods. And then you gotta understand that the angels was called gods. Uh, us Israelites are called gods in the Book of Psalms. Uh, Rulers like kings and stuff is called gods. So because you got to understand the word God is just a title. It's not the name of the Most High God, who people oftentimes think like when you ask them like, "What's God's name?" They're like, "His name is God." No, God is a title, just like a police officer is a title, a governor is a title, doctor is a title. So God is a title. So here it's telling you that the angels, which will be the Elohim, the sons of God, uh, created the heavens and the earth, right? So, and yes, I prove that, right? Because you got to understand this one little verse right here, Genesis 1:1, there's so much history that's being told in this one little verse. You know, because you got to understand, Genesis is not a word for word account of how everything got created. This is like so much, like damn near 7,000 to 8,000 8,000 years worth of history that's condensed into this book called Genesis. You know, so it's not a word for word creation. You know, so it's so much history just in this one line. So let's get John real quick. Go to the Book of John. So Book of John, chapter 1, verse 1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Right. So let's read it again. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. So, like I said, we understand there's a distinction between the Word, and if you ever been to church before, you know the Word would be Jesus, or in the Hebrew, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai. Um, and the Word was with God. And the word was God. So now here we go, going back to that title of him also being a God, not the most high God, but a God, right? So let's get that. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go to the book of Hebrews real quick. So like I said, you gotta understand like how to, because when you read this thing, you gotta understand like the different terminologies that is written in, because especially like the New Testament is written in Greek, so you gotta know what the Greek word is, what's, and what that meant when they said these certain phrases. So and that's how you understand it. So we're gonna get Hebrews 1 and 2, right? Chapter 1 verse 2. So it says uh let's start at 1. God who sundry times and in diverse manners spake in past time unto the fathers of the prophets, have in these last days spoken unto us a son whom he has anointed heir of all things. Right. So just think about that. So like at the same time we cutting the Old Testament doctrine, and we also cutting the Trinity, the Trinity doctrine that a lot of Christian people push. So how can a son come without a father? Right. That's just natural law. So we see that it says, in these last days, spoken unto us by his son. So the son can't come before the father, and the son can't come at the same time as the father, right? Because the father has to create the son. And it says, by his by his son, whom he appointed heirs of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. So, you know, and that's in the worlds being plural. Then let's read on. And it says, who being the brightness of glory and the express image of his person, upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins and sat down at the right hand of the majesty of the high, right? And hold on real quick, just 1 second. All right. Okay. All right. My bad. So yeah, let's get back into that. So it says, being the brightness of the glory and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged out our sins and sat down at the right hand of the majesty on high. So y'all see, right? So like I said, it's written in Greek. So we got to understand what is the express image of his person, right? So let's get that. Let's get the definition of that. And that's the thing, when you read this, when you read the Bible, you got to have like a Bible dictionary oftentimes to understand what these words mean, because we speak English. So sometimes the words that is written here doesn't translate well into the English as far as our understanding. So we gotta get it into, go into the dictionary and see, and get what they meant by in that language, because this is written in Greek. The Old Testament is written in Hebrew. So you can't, even though like we read everything in English, because that's the language we speak, but understanding that these things were written in other languages, but we're reading it in English for we can have the understanding of what is being said. But to fully understand, you have to go to the original meaning and to what they meant when they spoke it in that language. So just get that. So now the express image, it says, now this is the definition. This is the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, right? So we're getting out of the Encyclopedia of the Bible, right? It says express as the meaning exactly resembling. So if something resembles something, just like you can have a child and that child can resemble you. It doesn't mean that you and that child was born at the same time because the child just took on your features, right? So it says, express as the meaning exactly remembering the original, resembling the original, express seal. So when you work in an office or you go to the post office and they got that stamp, and they stamp your envelope or whatever, or you go to an office and you got to stamp a document. So and that thing is called a seal. The imprint of that stamp, that the thing that they got when they dip it into the ink is called a seal, right? So it says a figure engraved upon the seal. So he is Jesus, Yahweh Shai is that engravement upon that seal, right? So ask yourself a question: what comes first, the engrave or the engraver, right? Because you need somebody to be the engraver to engrave something onto a seal. So with that understanding, because in the church they'll tell you that Jesus and God they all the same. But here we reading that Jesus had an engraver, someone to create him, right? So it wasn't that, he just spontaneously, came on as, he got created as we read. And it says, express image, boom, 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 go back up. It says, as the impress of the seal resembles the figure engraved upon the seal. So, like I said, you have a seal, like say, like this is a seal. Someone had to create this. So someone had to correct this and then put the imprint on the end. So I dip it in the ink, then I push it down onto the paper or whatever I'm sealing. And then now it's a direct copy of what I engraved, right? So that's what Jesus is. He's an engravement of the Most High. So with that understanding, we see that Jesus and God are not one, how they'll tell you in the Christian church that Jesus was actually created by God, you know, as his son, as the engraver. I mean, as the engrave, as the seal. So let's read. It says, boom, boom, boom. Thus expressing image in the reverse, referring to a good translation. Okay, Greek engraving, enhanced, impressing the revised version. Okay, okay. Let's get into like all the different sources where this came from. So as we can see, but what we read right there, that he is the express image of the Most High. He has been engraved, right? So let's get back to it. Boom, boom, boom. Then it says, so this verse 4, being made so much better than the angels, as he have by inheritance attained more excellence than the name that than they. Right. So let's read on again. Let's keep reading. And for unto which the angels had said, he at that time, thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee, and again I will be to him a father, and he shall be my son. So as he created this engravement, he said, okay, this is going to be my son, and I'm going to be his father, right? Because we understand natural law that a parent and a child is not created at the same time. The parent comes first and then the child, right? And then it says, and again he brightened up he brightened in the first begotten unto the world and said, let all the angels of God worship him, right? So let's go to Colossians real quick. 1:15. So, like I said, so we can see the differential between the Most High and his Son, right? And then we see also during creation how he created him to because we read in earlier how he created the worlds, right? So but before he created the worlds, he had to be engraved first, and then as he was, became that engravement of the Most High, that's how he created everything. Just like how we read in John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. So it all connects together, you know. And so then let's get so this Colossians. Who is the invisible? This is Colossians 1:15. Who is the invisible? Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? So we just read that in Hebrews, and we also read the definition for express image, where it tells you that He is the engravement of the Most High. You know, and thus proving what John said, the Word was God, right? Meaning the Word was a God, not the Most High God, because you got to understand the word God is just a title. So, and when it says the Word was with God, and we see that, and it says, who is in the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature, from for by Him were all things created. There are in the heavens and that are in earth, invisible and invisible, whether they are be thrones or dominions or principalities or power. All things were created by him. So he created all of this that we see, but under the direct order of the Most High God. Just like when you're at work, you have the owner, the boss that give you the instructions, then you carry out the order. Then the workers make it come through. And then what happens when you sit in a meeting? The boss takes all the credit for everything that will happen. I'm saying? Not to say that, I'm saying that in jest, but not to say that the Most High don't deserve the credit for everything that's being created. But I'm just using that as an example to simple it up. So yeah, so we get let's go to Wisdom of Solomon real quick. I'm trying to speed through this real quick, and I don't want to be too long with it because it's a lot of precepts. We can pull out. So it's 11 and 17, right? It says for thy almighty hand that made the world of matter without form, wanted not means so. Wait, let me read it right. For the almighty hand that made the world of matter without form, uh, want not means to send among them the multitude of the bears and fierce lions. So it's saying that how this works, and science will tell you this too, that how, you know, the world was created out of this matter, you know, after what they call the Big Bang or whatever, right? We ain't getting into all that. But, and the world was created, off of this matter. And so then as the world was created, then all these things came about afterwards, right? And so that's move along, right? Let's get to let's go to John let's go to Book of John chapter 8 real quick, and get John 8 and 56, right? And so this oh, Salaki. Dang, camera messing up. So yeah, let's go to my bad. Let's go to John 58. Hold on, fix this camera. Let's go to John 58, right? And let me fix this other camera too. So, keep it straight. boom. Yeah, my bad. I should gotta fix both of these cameras because we also streaming this for YouTube also. So oh yeah, okay, John 50 John 8:56, right? It says, "Our father Abraham rejoiced to see the day that he uh, saw it and was glad." Right. So now this is Jesus talking to like fellow Israelites, talking about Abraham and time past and stuff, right? And so and like I said, so we see that before we get into all that, we see like from reading from Genesis, John, Hebrews, Colossians, right? Uh, Wisdom of Solomon, right? That um, he was always in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? That's why I title it the way I title it. He was always in the beginning, right? And he was part of the whole creation process. So now, after the creation, now he's talking about, Abraham and all that stuff, right? So then it says, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. Right? So now you think about that for a minute. Say your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. Right? So then, like I said, so a lot of us was under the understanding that Jesus came along in the New Testament. But Abraham is from what they would call the Old Testament, even though me personally don't believe in no Old Testament, New Testament, because it's all one book. Just that they put these separations on it, right? But it says, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. Then said the Jews unto him, Thou art not yet 50 years old, and hast thou seen Abraham? So the Jews, the Israelites, is looking like you just a young man. What do you mean that you saw Abraham? You're not even an old man yet, right? And Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham, I am. Right? So, because you got to understand, right? And we kind of touched on it before. I made a video about the whole regeneration process, how we die, then we come back in another life, another time, and all that stuff, right? You can read about that in Ecclesiastes, in the book of Esdras, all that, right? But so we're not gonna get into that, but just for time's sake, I'm just just mentioning that real quick for to try to clear up some confusion. So he said Jesus said unto him, Very, very, I say unto you, before Abraham I am, right? So let's see what he mean by that, right? So let's go back to Genesis real quick. Go to Genesis 14, boom, 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 and 18. So, because you got to understand, like, Jesus had many incarnations on his earth, right? And maybe one day we'll go into, like, depth about it. But, he had many incarnations on his earth. And one thing that the church got right, they teach that, Jesus was the first Adam, which is true. He was the first Adam that you read about. So that's one incarnation. Then he also came back as Melchizedek. Then he also came back as Isaac. Then he also came back as Solomon. Then he had the reincarnation of him being who we call Yahushua, or who the world called Jesus. So he had many incarnations, right? And I think there's one more incarnation I'm missing too. But like I said, he had many different incarnations. So now he's going back to speaking about Melchizedek, because Melchizedek met Abraham, right? When you get into the whole story. So it says, where we at? I'm starting at 18. So it says, and Melchizedek, the king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram, the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And he blessed, and he be blessed, the Most High, which had delivered thy enemies unto thy hand, and he gave him gave him tithes of all, right? So it's talking about when Abraham had tithed his 10% to Melchizedek when he met him, because Melchizedek was a most high priest, right? So, but just get a little more info on that real quick. Let's go to Hebrews, right? So, cause like I said, we skipping through it, going through it a little quick. Um, so let's go to Hebrews 7, right? Hebrews 7:1. So just give a little account of that meeting between Melchizedek and Abraham, right? And it says, "For Melchizedek, the king of Salem," and when you get into that word Salem, that means peace. He's the king of peace, and we know who's the king of peace. Yahweh Shai is the king of peace, and it also calls Melchizedek kings of kings, and kings of kings and kings of peace, and we know who that is. That's Yahweh Shai. So it says, the priest of the Most High God who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings of the and blessed him. Um, to whom was Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation of the king of righteousness. So Melchizedek is the king of righteousness also, and we know who's the king of righteousness, Yahweh Shai. Then it says, after that, also King of Solomon, which is the King of Peace. We know who's the King of Peace, which is the King of Peace. Uh, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made unto the Son of God. So it's telling you that he not, because he was walking this earth, Melchizedek, and Melchizedek was on this earth. He didn't come to this earth through a mother or a father. That's what it's telling you. So then it says without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made unto the Son of God, uh, abideth a priest continuously, right? And that's what we are, as Israelites. We're under that Melchizedek uh, priestlyhood. That's all the Israelites are. We're under that order. Even though we have the Levites, who are the priests of Israel, which would be today the so-called Haitians. Even though a lot of our Haitian people is into that voodoo stuff, but hopefully that they repent and come out of that and understand that they are the priests of the Most High God. But so we are in that priesthood, because it tells you that we are a nation of kings and priests. That's what we are, right? So, and it's all through the order of Melchizedek. So then, let's see, that's all I want. Okay, yeah, so then, yeah, so that's basically it on that, right? Because so then, let's get a boom, 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 boom. Let's go to Exodus real quick. Let's go to Exodus 3 and 14. Because we got to understand, we're still dealing with the whole I am thing, right? Because we left off, what brought us to here, to this point, was dealing with the whole I am. So, and he said before Abraham, it was I am, right? Because, and it tells you that was the angel of the Lord. So just see that, right? So, let's see if I can jump up real quick. All right, I'm gonna start at Exodus 3 and 2. Then I'm gonna jump down to 14, just to get the point. So it says Exodus 3 and 2, and the angel of the Lord, right? appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of a midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, a bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. Right. So this angel that's called itself I am is an angel of the Lord. Right. And we see that as we've been reading, we see that Yahweh Shah is the express image of the Most High God Yahweh. Right. The first creation. Right. And through him everything else was created. So let's jump down to 14. So um so it says, and God said unto Moses, so cause we gotta understand this word God just being a title, cause that's not the Most High God's name. His name is not God. His name is Yahweh, right? That's his name. Yahweh is his name. And it says, and God said unto Moses, I am that I am. Or let me start at 13. And Moses said unto God, behold, when I come into the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, the God of our fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, what is his name? What should I say unto them? So this is where a lot of confusion come into people because it's not being taught right. Because some people will say, well, his name is, if his name is not God, then his name is I am, right? But I am is the name of the angel that Moses is speaking with. Because we just read at the top of the chapter at verse 2 that it was an angel of the Lord that was in that burning bush. So it can't, you got to understand, it can't be God, the Most High God, Yahweh, and the angel. It would have told you that. It told you that the angel of the Lord was in that burning bush. So once again, it's a separation between the Most High God and who we call Jesus or Yahweh Shai, right? And then we read in the New Testament, what was that, John, where he said in John that he was that I am, right? So now we're getting a little understanding. So it says, and God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shall say unto the children of Israel, I am sent me, right? So in context, yes, I am is sending him because he's the messenger. He came to deliver the message of Yahweh, right? You know, it's just like when you were a kid or something, when you was a kid, and one of your siblings tell you, "Hey, mommy said this or daddy said this," so they might say, "Hey, well, look, you need to do this and you need to do that." Then you be like, "Why I gotta do this? Why I gotta do that?" You be like, "Because daddy said for me to tell you this, or mommy told me to tell you this," right? So it's the same difference. So then he says, and and God said moreover unto Moses. He says, let me read it again. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. Um, and and he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am sent me unto you. Right? So in a way too, he kind of got, I ain't gonna really, say kind of got short with him or smart with him, but it's just like, you asking all these questions because, we skipped a few verses. He asking all these questions like he unsure of what's going on. So the angel was getting a little impatient with him. He like, look, tell him I am sent you, right? He didn't say it like in a pleasant way. It wasn't a pleasant exchange when he said, tell him I am sent you. He said, look, tell him I am sent you. Like, being a little short with him. But then he like tells him, he tells him, he keeps chatting out for me. Hold on one second. Then he says, and God said, moreover unto Moses, thus shall Thus shall thou say unto the children of Israel, the Lord Yahweh. Because when you see this word, if you're reading along, you see this word in Exodus 3 and 15. It's the word Lord in capital letters, all capital letters. Then when you understand that, that is the tetragrammaton of the Most High name, which is Yahweh. Because whenever you see the Lord in capital letters in the Old Testament, it is talking about the tetragrammaton, the actual name of the Most High. But you got to understand our culture. We didn't say Yahweh's name frequently like that. And the only reason why I keep saying Yahweh now talking to y'all is because it's a teaching moment, because it tells you not to say his name in vain. So I'm saying his name because I know a lot of us don't know his name. And I'm showing you the difference between I am and the angel and Yahweh thy power, right? So that's why I keep saying his name, because like I said, it's a commandment to not, say his name in vain, just be using his name all willy nilly, So that's why a lot of times you hear me refer to him as the Most High God, because you don't want to get into the habit of just throwing out his name, as you talking, like it's cool, because that name got power behind it. So he said, so right now it's a teaching moment. So that's why I keep saying referring to that name. So, but when you read the Old Testament, you see the word Lord, you know, Lord thy God or whatever, and it's all in capital letters. That is the tetragrammaton of his actual name. And when you understand the tetragrammaton, his name is Yahweh, right? So it says and the God said moreover unto Moses, uh thus shall say unto the children of Israel, the Yahweh power of your father, uh, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Right. So, and he's letting them know, look, I didn't tell my name to Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob, but I'm telling you my name. My name is Yahweh, and you should remember my name for a generation into generation. So that's why I'm, telling, speaking his name, and because his name should be remembered, because we don't know his name, because we going around calling his name, thinking his name is God, and that's not his name. And let's get this real quick. So it says, um, and Moses, this Exodus 17 and 15, and and Moses built a altar and called the name of it uh, uh, Jehovah Nasi, meaning Yahweh in Hebrew. Yahweh is my banner, right? So that's it tells you that his name should be for us for a generation, and so then it says Moses built the altar and called it the name of it Yahweh. Jehovah Nasi, and like I said, and that means in Hebrew, Yahweh is my banner, meaning when Yahweh goes before me, because when you go to war or you marching in a band, you have that banner up, that flag. So Yahweh is your flag, your banner, your representation, right? So it says, for he said, because the Yahweh have sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So, and Amalek is some people with the little curly things on the side and a small hat, and they like to wear black all the time with a little white button up. That's who Amalek is. So let's get back into the lesson. So then, let's get so we're doing it like in almost like chronological order, somewhat from the time of him being created, then the time that he made his appearance on earth, talking to Abraham, and now he's speaking with Moses. So and let's get 22, right? Psalms 22 and 16. It says, so now this is speaking in, so this is why we say that, this is why it is titled the way that it's titled, that he always been there, meaning he didn't just show up in the New Testament. He always been around, because David is prophesied about him here in this Psalms 22, and it says, "For dogs have compassed me," and dogs are anybody that's outside of the Israel nation. They be referred to as dogs. I know it sound might be harsh to some of y'all, but that's how the Lord look at them as dogs. And it says, "For God has compassed me, for dogs have compassed me. The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet." So we know this is not talking about David because David hands David never been captured and had his hands and his feet pierced, right? He's talking about the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, the Mashiach, right? He's talking about him. And it says, let's jump down to 18. They parted my garments among them and cast lots for my vesture. So when you get into the whole crucifixion story, you know when he was on a crucifix or when, there was, uh, had him captive, a lot of them was gambling for his clothes. They were betting to see who's going to win his clothes, you know. And so this is a prophecy. This didn't happen to David, right? Because it tells you that David was also a prophet too. It tells you that. So let's get Isaiah real quick. So now this is Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53. We'll start at Isaiah 53 and 10 and 53 and 3, right? And this is why I also started out too by saying this is a cut to a lot of the Old Testament believers who don't believe in the New Testament, who don't believe in Yahweh Shai or who the world called Jesus. Because like I said, he's been prophesied all through this whole book. That's why he tells you that he come in the volume of the book. And if you're not familiar with prophecy and understand the whole prophecy and the order of prophecy, you'll be lost. Then you'll be sick in the head like a lot of these Old Testament only believers. So it says, he is despised and rejected of men, a man's sorrow and acquaintance with grief. So you'll ask an Old Testament believer, like, who is this talking about? This is Isaiah. He's a prophet. Unless you're willing to actually say Isaiah is a liar and he don't know what he's talking about, then you're gonna have to say who this is. And show the history of when this happened to a person like this during the time of Isaiah. So it says, he is despised and rejected of men, uh, a man of sorrow. And when you read about Yahweh Shai life, it tells you that he was a man of sorrow. He wasn't they always, depict Jesus as like he was this happy-go-lucky dude. No, he was a man of sorrow. Number one, he was being oppressed every day because you had the Romans, in Jerusalem taking over stuff. They was enslaved to the Romans. So what slave is happy? Only slave that is happy is a good slave. All right? And Jesus was a revolutionary. So he was a man of sorrow, a man with grief. That's why when you read in the in Revelation about his eyes being red, or in Psalms his eyes being red, or in Genesis about his eyes being red, that comes from grief. Then not only that, it comes from grief. Then it says he was despised and rejected of man, um, of sorrow and acquainted with grief, and he hid as if were our faces from him. He was despised and he was esteemed not. Meaning he had a lot of haters, a lot of people that was trying to come against him, right? Surely he had borne our grief and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him and stricken him and smitten of God in affliction. So it's like, man, he came to borne our grief. How they tell you that, he died for our sins, right? And not in context, what that mean is he didn't die for your sins, meaning okay, everything is all cool now. He died. It's just like, for example, you get pulled over by the police. You got two strikes. Say like we live in California, right? You got two strikes. You get pulled over by the police. You got a gun. But then you got two strikes. But then you also, you got You got some potential. You're a talented dude or whatever, right? Then your friends say, "Hey, I got this. I'm gonna tell him it's mine. I'll take the charge for this gun because you already got two strikes. You on your way to the NBA, or the NFL, play baseball. You about to be a rocket scientist, whatever the case may be." And your friends say, "Hey, when the police come to the car, I'm gonna let them know it's my gun. You good?" And your friend do that for you, right? That's what happened. So now your friend is in jail. So, but then what we need to understand is your friend did that for you. So then that doesn't mean a few months later down the road you go rob a liquor store and then you go probably shoot somebody, then the police come and arrest you. Now you in jail with your friend that took that charge for you. Your friend looking at you like you're a damn idiot and looking at what he just did for you like like you don't have no respect for what he just did for you. So that's what we gotta understand. Jesus did not just die for our sins for we can continue sinning. The same way if your friend decide to take a charge for you and go to jail and let you end up living your life and make something out of it. He didn't do that for nothing because he saw the potential in you. So it's the same philosophy. So, because everybody would say, like, oh, yeah, we all sin, blah, 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 right? But not understanding that you don't have to sin. When you get into the laws of God, you'll see that it's not that hard to keep. Church would make it seem like it's something unattainable. But no, it's really not. Just that we've been practicing the wrong thing forever, and we don't want to change because it's so comfortable. But when you understand that it's not that hard. I was once a sinner. I used to sin all the time. But once I understand the laws and see that, like, hey, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I stop sinning to the best of my ability, right? Then if I do slip up, we have an advocate called Yahushua who we can ask for forgiveness through, right? But that does not excuse and allow you to keep sinning. That's what we don't understand, right? That's not a permission to keep sinning because God, like it tells you in I think Romans or something like that, that God doesn't give a license to sin, right? But you go to church, they tell you, oh yeah, we all sinners, we all fall short of the glory of God. Yes, we do. But now that you know better, you need to stop it. All right? Because Jesus said out of his own mouth, he that sin is of the devil. And I'm pretty sure nobody wants to be of the devil. Because you know, that's not cool, right? So we got to understand what is being said here, right? And and then we got to understand what's being taught and understand that it's not like how we thought it is. And it's not okay to go around sinning and doing all this extra stuff, right? So it says, surely he borne our grief and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him, stricken him, and smitten of God and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities, and chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Right? So meaning that through him he become an advocate for us to be able to approach the Most High and speak our peace and ask for that forgiveness by acknowledging him sending his son to go through all these different things, right? So you gotta understand it too. Like I said, we're still cutting away at the Old Testament doctrine. At the same time, dispelling the lies that the Christian church done told us. So you gotta understand too. It's like read it again. Um, hold on, read it one more time. But but he was wounded for our transgression, he was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and his stripes, and by his stripes we are healed. So, like I said, we gotta understand, like, through his, act, because you got it's just like this, right? When you think about it, as a king, someone that's so look at the Most High God, Yahweh, as he's the king, right? He's the ruler. He sits on his throne. So when you understand how that stuff works, the courtship and all that stuff, right? You cannot come up, you cannot approach, you cannot just anybody cannot just walk into the throne room where the king sits at and have an audience with the king. You have to either request the audience with the king, and the king has to grant it. Where do you think all these so-called uh, when you look into fairy tales and other little stories about kingdoms and stuff, you know, why you think when you see movies or something, somebody just rush into the throne room where the king sits at, when he's holding court, and everybody just draw their weapon on him, like, hey, what are you doing here, right? So you gotta understand, you can't just approach the Most High, you know, because even back in the Old Testament, when during those times they had something called a seer or a prophet, that people will go to. They'll go to the prophets and they'll ask the prophets to speak to the Lord for them, or the seer to ask, them to speak to the Lord for them. You know, so then, because you just can't just like I said, you just can't walk into the presence of a king and request an audience, because you either got to be summoned, or if you do request an audience with them, it has to be granted, right? So it's the same thing, but through the sacrifice of Yahushua, we're allowed to have him as our mediator, and that's why when we pray for things, we pray for it in his name, because it's just like you go somewhere, right? Somebody say, "Hey, go to such and such and tell them that I sent you. Let them know that I sent you," right? And then you should be good. Mention my name and tell them, that I sent you over there, and you should be good. It's the same thing. So it's not that, it's just that for us to be able to talk to the Most High, you know, like I said, it's just that simple. Just like if somebody tell you, hey, go over there, tell them, hey, I sent you, like the Joel verse in the Dipset song. Tell them that I sent you. Blah blah blah. We going back to November. You know what I'm talking about. So the same thing, right? So so like, yeah, tell him I sent you. So we pray to him in the name of Yahweh Shai, and ask for things in the name of Yahweh Shai, because it's like, look, hey, he told me to come at you like this, blah blah blah, whatever, right? So that's what that's about, right? So it's not that we pray to Jesus or pray to Yahweh Shai. We pray to the Most High God, Yahweh, but we do it through the adversary, not the adversary. I'm sorry, through the through the advocate of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, right? So continue on there. So then, I'm going. So then it says, we are we. I'm sorry. All we like sheep gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord have laid on him the iniquities of us, right? So like I said, so he bear the iniquities, meaning like, just like the example I used earlier, like if you get pulled over by the police and your friends say, hey, I'm gonna take the gun charge, I'll take the drug charge, or just switch seats real quick, and I say I'm driving, just like that, right? So he says he bears the iniquity. He was oppressed. Like I said, he was oppressed because he was living during the times when the Romans was ruling Jerusalem. You know, just like how we live in here in America, the same people, the Romans, but they calling themselves American now. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Just like that friend that would say, "Hey, I'm gonna take this gun charge for you," and then he get down there and say, I did it." And then he didn't open up his mouth by saying any type of snitching. He didn't do uh uh what's dude's name? He didn't pull a gun in and start snitching on everybody. He didn't open up his mouth. He said, "Look, it's all on me." Right? So it says he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He brought as a lamb to the slaughter, as a sheep before her shears is dumb. So he opened not his mouth. So that's what we're facing with it. That's what he did. He didn't snitch on us. He didn't back down from what he said he was gonna do. He did it. So when we pray to God, we pray to God, then we ask for whatever we ask for in His Son's name, Yahweh, no, Yahweh Shai, right? So so let's keep reading, right? So then it says, he was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off from the land of the living. So then I asked Old Testament believing people, who was this person that was cut off from the land of the living? Who was this person that suffered, that said they're gonna take on all the sins of Israel, and then they were killed, in the meantime for doing that? Who was this person? They have no answer. This is why we need to stop believing in one half of the book and believe in the whole book and understand all of the prophecies. Then it says, he was taken from, and the same thing that goes for the Christians, so-called Christians, because they believe in half of the book too. They believe in everything from the New Testament, and they say what happened in the Old Testament is old. They don't deal with that, and that's why they don't have no understanding of what's going on. It says he was taken from prison, uh, and from judgment, who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. So who is this person? And like I said, they have no answers, but we know the answer because we follow the whole book. So we know who this is talking about, right? So it says, and yet it pleases the Lord to bruise him. So, and so who is this guy that God is happy to allow to let go through these things, because he understands the outcome after he go through these things. It says, yet it pleases the Lord to bruise him. He have put him to grief. When thou shall make his soul a offering for sin, he shall see his seed, and he shall prolong his days, and pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hands. So they have no answer. And then, like I said, and to answer that, part, because they will counter, because now I'm giving an antithetical argument of what they will say. They will counter by saying, well, it says in verse 10, he shall see his seed and prolong his days, right? He shall see his seed. So who is Jesus' seed? Who was his seed? Because of course, on record, he didn't have no children. But we gotta understand this, and we spoke about this a little earlier, and then I also did a lesson on this as far as regeneration. Remember, I said that Jesus had many different incarnations on this earth. He was the first Adam, because that's one thing that the Christian church got right. I gotta give credit when credit is due. Jesus was the first Adam. Then not only was he the first Adam, he was also Isaac. Then not only was he Isaac, he was also Solomon. Then he was also then he like I said, I can't think of the other incarnation that he came in, but then we know him too also in the time of Yahushua, who the world called Jesus. So he had many different carnations. So when you understand how many wives Solomon had, then you understand Jacob. I mean, not Jacob, Isaac. You know, and so then you can see that his offspring is us, the people, because he came before all of that in those different lifetimes, right? So, like I said, it's simple when you understand it, but it's just that if you don't understand the whole book, and like I said mentioned earlier, in case some of y'all might be lost, the whole regeneration or reincarnation is explained in the book of Ecclesiastes and as in the book of Second Ezra, and like I said, we can go through that too at a later time. So like I said, so we see what's happening, right? So let's get Luke real quick. We almost done, right? Look at Luke 4:18. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." So we gotta understand. So now we get into what the gospel is, right? So we understood that he came here and he suffered for our sins. He created everything that we know with him and the angels. They created everything that we see and know. So now we're going to get into what the gospel is. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captive, and recovering the sight to the blind, to set liberty to them that are bruised." So who is these people? Who are the captives, right? Who are the blind, meaning the people that's, being led astray through false understanding and doctrine, right? And false wisdom. Who is these people? Who is this the brokenhearted? Who's the ones that's brokenhearted, always got, you know, always got something going on in their life. They can't seem to get no type of peace. It's always something, brother. You just paid this bill and you gotta pay another one. All this stuff going on, right? All this type of broken. Who is those people? It can't be our so-called oppressors. This is talking about a specific type of people, right? So y'all see what he's quoting though, because this is in the New Testament. This is the book of Luke. Because we gotta understand, like I said earlier, there's no such thing as Old Testament and New Testament. That's just the titles that people put on it, just to make a separation. But let's see where he get this from. He got it from the Old Testament, because you got to understand these people, the disciples, Jesus, and all the people in the New Testament. They wasn't just freestyling stuff. They wasn't just coming up with their own stuff. Everything that you read comes from them quoting the Old Testament and understanding the Old Testament. So let's get Isaiah 61. Just start at 1 and we're going to read down to 9. Right? And it says, "The Spirit of the Lord." So this is the same verbatim what Jesus said. "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach the good tidings." Right? So, and we know good tidings means gospel. And what's the good news? Unto the meek. Who is the meek? We are the meek. "He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and open the prison to them that are bound." Right? "To proclaim the acceptance year of the Lord, and vengeance, the day of vengeance." So what's the gospel? The day of vengeance, when God come back and avenge all the atrocities that we've been through on this side of the world and other places where we're scattered out to. It's a day of vengeance. That's what the gospel is. Is the Christian church telling you that? Do they tell you that the gospel is vengeance? That God is going to take on this world for what He has done to us? When you see all this crazy stuff going on in the world today, when you watch the news, you see all this stuff happening. You see that we at the break of World War III. We don't understand that this is all for our good. This is for us. All that. And the more we keep waking up, the more terrible things is going to happen around the world because God is judging this world for what they have done to us. That is simple as plain. Yeah, it might look all crazy when you look around the world. You see the earthquakes in Turkey. You see Russia and Ukraine getting into it. Then all these other countries that might get into it. Then it's gonna turn into a whole World War III. Yeah, that's gonna happen. And you know why it's gonna happen? Because God is passing judgment on these people for what they did to us. And the sad part of it, a lot of our people are gonna get caught up in the middle of it because we don't want to come back to who we truly are, our nationality, our culture, us being Israelites and keeping these commandments. So a lot of us gonna get caught up in the midst of that. It says, appointed unto them that mourn. Hold on, let's read this again. Um, to proclaim the acceptance year of the Lord, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. So who's the mourning? To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. Who's the gospel for? For all of them that mourn in Zion. And what is Zion? Israel, the Israelites, the Jerusalem, us, the people, because we are a people before we are a place. And you understand when it says Zion, you know, we are the people of Zion. So it's talking about us. It's not talking about the whole world. The gospel is not for everybody because everybody's not going through what we're going through as a people. We got to understand that. It says to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give to them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, for the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified, right? um, and they shall build the old ways. They shall rise up in former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities and desolations of many generations. Meaning, we're gonna get back to Israel and we're gonna rebuild that place up, because after World War III, it's gonna be destroyed. All them bombs and everything gonna go off, and we're gonna go back there and build it up. Then we know, of course, we're not gonna build it up. They're gonna build it up, and we read about that in uh, Isaiah chapter 14. But moving on. And the strangers shall stand and flee your flocks. Who is the strangers? The strangers are people that's outside of Israel. It says, and the strangers shall stand and flee your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen, meaning they're going to be working in our cotton fields. We have to work in their cotton fields and tobacco fields and sugarcane fields, but now they're going to be out there. It says, and the alien shall be your plowman and your vine dresser. But ye shall be named the priest of the Lord. Men shall call you the minister of our God. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles? Everybody that's outside of Israel. So it says, well, outside of the nation of Israel, the people of Israel, right? The Gentiles. Then it says, shall eat the riches of the Gentiles. In their glory ye shall boast yourselves. Just like how they boast themselves in our glory. The people that sign LeBron James check, Josh Morant send them checks. They're boasting, look, I got these niggas running and jumping and shooting a basketball for me. And you look at them like they getting all this money, they getting all these hundreds of millions of dollars to play the game. But what about the person that's signing their checks? He's boasting in their glory, because he took them out of the projects, out of a horrible living condition, and put some money in their pocket, and now they're doing what he want them. Now they're doing what he want them to do: run and jump, right? So in that day, we're gonna be able to boast in their glory. We're gonna be able to brag about all the things, how we got all these other nations doing this and that for us, right? The same way how they got us doing it. How they doing it towards us. For your shame, ye should have double, and for your confusion, ye shall receive their portions. So this is how we know we're still reading about the gospel. So this gospel is not for everybody because not everybody is in shame like we are in shame, being downtrodden, second class citizens wherever we at, right? Not everybody have that experience, right? It says, "An everlasting joy shall be unto them." For I'm reading yeah, the everlasting joy shall be unto them. For the Lord love judgment. I hate robbery. For burnt offerings I will direct their works in truth, and I will make a everlasting covenant with them. Who was the them? The Israelites. We read about that in Jeremiah 31. Um, and their seed shall be known among the Gentiles. Again, it's making a separation between us and the Gentiles. The Gentiles is just a Hebrew word for nations. The Goyim. Goyim means nations. So the nations in Israel. So it says, in their seed, which is our people, shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offsprings among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. So when you understand that word seed, a seed is a bloodline, a child. Like I have a son. So whatever children come out of my son is going to be connected to my seed, my bloodline, in my father's bloodline, right? So not everybody can lay claim to that. That's what we got to understand. This is why I said we're slicing the whole Christian understanding of this book too. Also, at the same time, taking down the Old Testament believers. So not everybody can lay claim to that. Seed is personal. If you impregnate a person and they have your baby, and that's a male child, and that male child end up having children, that is all connected to your seed line. Not anybody. You can't. Nobody can't get into that, right? So we got to understand that. So let's get one more, then we out of here. So that's what he's doing. That's who the gospel is for, and which is for us. So we went through him being the first created being. Then after he was created, him and the angels created everything else. Then how he was around during Abraham's time, how he talked to Moses, and then he came back in another lifetime and became a sacrifice for the children of Israel, and now then he also was talking about spreading the gospel during that time, and now let's get a little bit understanding of his return, right? It says, "Who is this that have?" This is Isaiah 63:1. "Who is this that have cometh from Edom?" And Edom is the biblical nationality and nation of the so-called Europeans, right? We're gonna put that out there. We don't care. The so-called nationality of the Europeans with dyed garments from Basra. Um, this that is glorious in his apparel, traveling with greatness of his strength. uh, that I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thy apparel? So he's asking Yahweh Shai, who the world called Jesus, why are you red in your apparel? Meaning, like, I see your clothes all red and stuff. Like, why you all red? Because last time he seen him, he had an all white garment on. But now he's coming back in his all white clothes. Because, us, we like to dress, we like to stunt. We have our all white parties, right? So now his all white garment is all red now from blood. Blood from the people who we call the so called Europeans, the Edomites. So it says, boom, 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 boom. I have, then this is Jesus replying, I have trodden the winepress alone, and the people there was none with me. Right? Meaning, when you read it in the G and G, it tells you that he had to go handle all these countries that oppressed us and did us wrong by himself because no other nation stood up against these Western European powers to to stop them from what they have done to us over the years. So he said he had to go and do it himself, because especially nowadays you got internet everywhere. So these countries can see the oppression that we go through. So yeah, they might mention it, but nobody is sending no warships over here to do anything about it. When Ukraine start going through their stuff, the whole world stopped. They wanted to go send aid and weapons and guns and all that stuff to help them. But nobody's doing that for us. And they won't. That's why he said, I had trodden the winepress alone, and the people there was none with me. For I was tread them in my anger and trampled them in my fury, and for their blood shall sprinkle upon my garments. So this is Jesus talking. This is my Jesus talking. Yahweh Shai, our Jesus. I say that and just it got that little saying, not my Jesus, right? So then it says, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my remnants. For the vengeance is mine, and the year of my redeemed is come. So this is once again getting back to the gospel. The gospel is about vengeance and protecting those that need to be protected, which is us, because we are the least protected people on the planet. And no matter where we go, it says, "For the day of vengeance is mine, and the year of my redeem has come." And I looked, and there was none to help. So again, he's like, man, I'm looking around. Ain't nobody's coming out to help these Black, Hispanic, and Native American people for all the atrocities that been that happened to them. Nobody said nothing about nothing that's going on. He says, I looked and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore my own arm brought salvation unto me, in my fury in my fury it upheld me. Right? So, and like I said, this is another question we can ask these OT people, right? Like, who is this guy? Because you can't say that it's the Most High God, because it tells you that the Most High God spirit is too big for this earth. That he can't. He said that the earth is too small to contain him. That the earth is his footstool. And he said, and heaven is his throne. So you can't. So you can't say that this is the Most High. So who is this? And again, they won't have no answers. I mean, they'll probably give you some answer that don't make sense, but which is still they don't have no answer. Then it says, and I will tread them down in my anger and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to earth. Oh, Salaki. Um, Salaki.